Right, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I'm really grateful to have followed Paul's great presentation, because I'm so happy that people like Paul do the work they do, going into schools and speaking to young people. And I know there's lots of wonderful people doing that work, but it makes me so angry that you have to do it. I'm so enraged, and it's necessary, but it shouldn't be. There are very powerful influencers, very sinister people who are interested in making money at the expense of your children, at the expense of anyone's relationships. They are stealing from you, they are stealing from your children. That might sound dramatic, but it's absolutely true. So tonight I'm going to tell you about what can happen when you do start to make a bit of noise. And so I guess I'll start at the beginning. I've been working with Collective Shout since about 2009. I resigned my role at the end of 2016 just due to burnout. I've been doing it for a while and it gets exhausting. I thought it was time for a break. But before that, I had been, as part of my role, similar to what Caitlin was talking about earlier with advertising, there was... Actually, I haven't started my PowerPoint, have I? What am I clicking? This is my PowerPoint presentation. I'm so glad that got a laugh. I thought that could go badly. All right. So, 2015, I was still working with Collective Shout, and I went to pick up my kids from school. And it was just my two boys I had to pick up that day. And you pull into this drop-off pickup zone, or the zone that some people think is parking. And what pulled up in front of me was this bus. This is the Sexpo, well, I call it the Sexpo bus, but actually it's a Brisbane City Council bus, and that's all it's supposed to be, doing the school route. Here's a closer up version of it. So I jumped out of the car and I took a photo. Kids wondering what I'm doing, and because what they're doing here, so this is a school, this is a drop-off zone. This bus has just gone around, picked up kids from Fenner Grove High School, which is local to my area, dropping them off here, and then picking up kids from the primary school. Just on the other side of so there's the bus, the pathway, the fence, and there's a preschool. And so I was pretty wild, and I took that photo. Then I had to get back in the car with the kids. We had to follow that bus all the way home, 10 minutes in the car. And my sons, who had the car, so it was Thomas. How do we work out? He was 12, and my son, I'm looking at my daughter, because she knows, and my youngest son was 8. So we're looking at this ad on the back of the bus, and I can't ignore it. Like Paul was saying, ignoring it makes you complicit, because it just becomes part of the wallpaper and it's accepted. I'm pretty sure from memory it was actually my son, because I've spoken to them about things before. My son Thomas, the 12-year-old, actually mentioned it and said it was inappropriate, and I said, yes, it is, and then there was, why is it inappropriate? Now, my son Thomas, he could have a sense of, I felt I could explain to him age appropriately, but my son James, he looked confused. He knew what sex was, but he didn't understand why it was being advertised as something for sale, and that made me angry. So this image, we've got an ad there, bright colours, web links, URLs. They've got their sponsor there, My Free Cams. That's pretty important as we go along. So I got home and did what you do. You go on Twitter, and I tweeted Brisbane City Council, and I asked them why it's okay that this school bus is advertising hardcore porn sites, because that's what they are. There's no age verification. You can just click there. Actually, I forgot to mention, is even as we're driving home, driving past the bus, you could hear kids go, oh, Sexpo, like they're acknowledging as they get on and off the bus. Any kid with a smartphone, and lots of parents give their kids smartphones or any phone, so for personal protection, that's why parents are doing it. And what it's doing is it's exposing them to some of the most sinister, evil rubbish that you can't possibly imagine until you've seen it. So the Brisbane City Council told me to contact the Ad Standards Board. So referring you back to Caitlin's presentation earlier, we know how useful that is. And my response, I said, you're advertising live streaming hardcore porn on your school bus, and you told me to contact Ad Standards. This is child abuse. One of the sites, so the website for Sexpo, you click on that, their major sponsor, My Free Cams, you click on that, it says, are you over 18? yes. Are you over 18? No. And you just click one. That's age verification, apparently. That's how we get... So if you click on that, there is images, thumbnail images everywhere. It's called My Free Cams for a reason. You can enter your credit card number and give women directions and all sorts of things to do, but you can just observe. There are women and really young-looking girls there. I've not tested their age verification because I don't think there's an ethical way to do that unless I created a fake-looking child. But there are some girls on that site that do look like they're underage. Wouldn't surprise me if they were. So the next thing I did is I wrote about it on Collective Shout's site, put the image there, mentioned that the Brisbane City Council doesn't care. So when nothing happened, I had a few, I tweeted quite a bit. Nothing happened, and then as I said, so this was 2015. 2016, burnout, took some time off. 2017, some of my Collective Shout colleagues started a petition. They used the image that I took. There was a couple of other images too, and I was fired up. Now I'm not an employee, I'm a citizen, so I'm a little bit more loose-lipped, a little bit less worried about what I'm saying, because this is my community, these are my kids, that's my school, and this is not on, so it's war. And before we talk about Twitter war, I know that there's this perception of Twitter, which, look, in many ways I feel ridiculous talking about a Twitter war, because it's just Twitter, right? But it's so silly that all our legislators are on it, our police services use it, the most powerful man in the world at the moment uses it to threaten North Korea, so we need to take it seriously. So, oh boy, yep. So the petition got going. So Sexpo responded. Now what their claim was, they responded in the way that predatory, misogynist, deceptive purveyors of human misery do, which is to lie and deceive. So they said they're not school buses, they're just buses, routes decided by bus companies, not Sexpo. What can they possibly do about it? So my response was, and I'm going to take you through a few of these, I hope it's not too tedious, but there was a conversation that went on, and you'll see, I guess what you'll see is how they never responded to any of the content or the substance of the complaint, rather they're trying to find a way to get me. So I pointed out, you know kids ride school buses, you know these are council buses, there's no age verification, you're abusers. Then they claimed the image never, there was a new, so when the petition started in 2017, so the first image I showed you outside my child's school, 2015, the petition started in 2017, so there was a new image, same URL, same problem, just different rubbish. So they claimed, well, the image never featured on a bus or in any other physical medium. The image has only been used in digital formats. Apparently they don't realise that we have eyes and ears connected to functioning brains and cameras. So my reply was, I quoted them and I said, don't you ever get tired of lying? And there's more and more. All their web URLs are there. So I started to get a little bit more honest. No, I said it's not just socially irresponsible to point kids to porn, because that's what these URLs are. They're specific directions on how to access adults-only material, the same as if you said to kids, go down the road, that pub will serve you and won't ask for ID. Go to that Coles, they won't ask for ID and you can buy cigarettes. It's completely illegal, but it's okay for them. So the point I was making is it's predatory. And like all predators, they lie because they've said it doesn't appear in a physical medium, it clearly does. So Sexpo is now trying to get me to say something that they can get me with, and they said, are you suggesting Sexpo and or its employees, contractors have committed offences? Now, before they wrote that one, they actually wrote a different one. And this is it here. Are you suggesting Sexpo and or its employees have committed and condoned sexual offences against children? Now, this might seem really picky, but the wording here and the change of that wording interested me because the word, I think the word condone they added, and they removed it because they quite clearly condone it. And that's why I said I liked your previous wording. You changed it, why? So I'm sorry, this is rough, this stuff that I'm about to show you now. If you're offended, you can yell at me. I'm okay with it. And I will then talk you into helping me to beat them. So I said, offences, not for me to decide. Are you condoning sexual offences? Quoted this product that they sell. So Club X is a company directly connected with Sexpo. I think Sexpo rose out of Club X. It's essentially a massive trade fair for Club X. So the comment, please be gentle, it's my first time. And their response, they don't care what the content is. They're not saying, oh, how horrifying, we didn't realise that was in our shop. They're saying, so you're inferring we and or Club X have condoned sexual offences against children or otherwise. Now, to me, that's pretty obvious. So I just said again, well, you must make some dollars from those who do. I grew up with someone abused by a school teacher, you're sick. These are other products I have here. Again, so we don't commit offences or condone them? So I just said, do you commit offences? Time for confessions. So anyway, well, I replied again, because I'm just thinking, if you want to keep doing this, I can do this all night. So this is horrible. She's new to the game, a tender sweet thing, needs to be taught, never says no. You tell me, Sexpo, do you condone sexual offences? Again, are you suggesting Sexpo, blah, 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 I've committed and or condoned sexual offences? So I said, great, you're asking important questions about whether you commit or condone sexual offences against kids. I hope law enforcement does the same thing. And what I found here is it's the community's website and it's laws surrounding abuse of children. And it might be a bit hard to read, but it says here, the following acts of sexual abuse or exploitation may constitute a criminal offence. And I highlighted the parts that said exposing a child to a pornographic film, publication, computer-generated image, including exposure to pornographic magazines and photographs, exposing child to an indecent act, such as a sexual act, including exposing child to an indecent act using electronic communications. Hello, look what they're doing. I again include the image of the I'm over 18 and I'm what does it say? Actually, both of them have the option, I think, that I'm over 18. Now, these are examples of some of the thumbnails which I've blacked out. Of course, on the website, they were not blacked out. These kids can get on their smartphones, visit this site, and see women, young women. I'm sorry to say what I'm about to say. I also, in my mind, I find it awful that people like Caitlin and Paul start these conversations by saying, I'm sorry to have to say this, because our kids are actually seeing it. So someone else has to apologise. But when you visit this website, there are women inserting objects into themselves and doing things to themselves which look so painful and horrific. And this is what their idea of sex is. They're being robbed of something really special, and that should be wonderful and beautiful and exciting, but they're being robbed of it and other people are making money off it. So I made this point again. Businesses face $55,000 to $110,000 fine, selling cigarettes to kids, but no penalty for Sexpo. So this is the new bus ad. I highlighted once again the web URL, the fact that this is the website you go to, and again another horrible picture which I've blacked out and blurred out, these poor women's faces. Now, why is this important? Well, they've really ramped up their advertising. We have the truck ads, we have the bus, the train. One of these, this one here that I'm pointing at, was part of a complaint where the complaint said that this was 1 metre away from the child's school. They are really, outdoor advertising, the audience is everybody. You don't get to pick and choose. Oh, even the sky. You can't get past the sky. So I guess, why am I telling you this? And why did Sexpo get so upset? Well, I think they got upset because we told the truth. And the truth is a threat to them. The things that they didn't like about what we said, I've got a few documents here. I've got several in the mail, one in a normal envelope, another one registered post. A few weeks later, I got one delivered to the door. I'd said to Shannon, actually, my daughter, if someone comes to the door and says they've got a package that they can only give to me, just say I'm not home. Anyway, 8:30 a.m, she was tired. Mum, there's a guy at the door who has a package for you. So they didn't like that I said that they were pedos, that they were predators, that they were involved in corporate pedophilia. That's an established term for companies that exploit children, sexualise them and expose them to this kind of stuff. They didn't like being called abusers. They didn't like me saying that they were grooming children, which when they're exposing kids and essentially branding them that this is your one-stop shop for pornography as you get older. They didn't like me calling them liars when they clearly were. They didn't like me saying that they can't be trusted. It didn't end up going to court because I wasn't an employee and there were some legal technicalities which meant that they couldn't pursue me. And throughout this whole time I would go from being terrified, I didn't tell my family for quite a while this was happening, sort of rocking in the corner thinking, am I going to lose my home? Realising I've resigned my job, I don't have any representation, I don't have any insurance. Thankfully people came to my aid, some really wonderful lawyers worked pro bono to get me out of this. Then I also went through periods of time where I thought, no, I've done nothing wrong. These people have done something wrong. This is my community. This is our community. This is our kids. This is a public school. This is a Brisbane City Council bus. You have no right. So they had this big apology pre-written. It's hilarious. They wanted me to apologise for all these things. I never got to court. The times when I was feeling bold, I thought I'd love to go to court and repeat it all. Never got there, so I'm really grateful tonight to be able to repeat it all now and underline it and say that they're not only just all those things, they are so much worse, because we're hearing more about the harms of pornography on children. We're seeing more and more of these companies getting away with this. There's a lack of urgency in dealing with it at a legislative level. There's even the Brisbane City Council going, just contact our standards. It's like, no, get that off your bus now. You have people that work for you. That's easy to do. Well, I can spray paint it. So I'll just, I had intended to put a timer on myself and I completely neglected to do that, so please let me know if I'm going over time. Almost? All right. All right, so what does this all mean? When I first started with Collective Shout, I always used to say when we were strategising and planning, we all know that we've been successful when someone tries to sue us. And I used to say it in kind of a jovial way. I also believed it was true because I thought, well, when you're under companies under a threat, that's what they do. I didn't expect it to happen like this. I'm glad it did happen. It happened because we're a threat. Yeah. They need to know that we are still a threat. And that if it wasn't for people like yourselves who were willing to be involved in this work in whatever capacity it is, I would have felt so alone and so hopeless. But instead, I felt strong, I felt stronger. And while I was thinking that maybe I've resigned and passing this on to someone else, that is not going to happen. I'm going to be around for a while longer. They will regret this. So, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you, and I hope we can all keep doing this.